Welcome back, guys. You already know the content did not stop yesterday or the day before. We're going to keep this train going. And with that in mind, we're going to be doing something pretty similar to what Applethroat did with his lovely doubles video, going over some of the important things that we see on the board still, both in NatDex and in SV, but also taking a look at some of the changes that we made to the SV board after all these seasons and seeing how they actually affected the draft this time around. Joining me today are my lovely co-hosts, the one and only Loker.
Yep.
And of course, you know him, you love him, Boss Merrill, Mr. Rexalis himself.
Yo. You put a little flair on mine, bro. All right.
Hey, you like that?
Huh?
Cardinals 29 has me locked in the basement.
You know I had to
throw
only doing content.
Yeah.
Real quick before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe, guys. You know, help out the channel and all that. You know.
Yeah, that's my issue. I don't plug like you, bro.
Yeah.
I never plug. I never plug.
I gotta have him on the video, bro. You know our SV video is gonna have him plug.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It wouldn't be the same without it. But I guess without further ado, we can jump into the first segment, which is going to be all about SV. And Mr. Loker, you put a lot of effort in this. This section is kind of just going over some of the important drafting principles and some of the things that might make SV different from some other formats like NatDex or whatever format that you've played in the past. So why don't you take it away, start explaining some of these important drafting concepts for us.
Yes. Yeah, so feel free to pause if you want to read it, but just to summarize on the left, effectively team building is a lot tighter than it is in NatDex. A lot of times this manifests in you just not being able to have a premium piece in every role. So I gave an example. If you get a great ground type like Garchomp in the first round and Greninja in the second round, oftentimes you're going to have to settle for a weaker Steel or Fairy down the draft at a later date. So knowing that you can't have the best of everything, it's always best to focus on what you value most and compromise in other spots while still trying to fill those roles. On the right side, we have just explaining a little bit of Terra versus Mega. So we'll get into Mega when we get into NatDex, but Terra brings interesting team building decisions. Most of the time, your whole game plan of your team is going to be centered around your Terra captain, especially when we're doing high tier Terra, which you've done for the last few seasons. Supporting the mon that you choose as your Terra captain is often the best thing. Is a great starting point for drafting. And I just gave the example, like for me this season, I drafted Terra Raging Bolt at 20 points. If you're going to spend 20 points on one Pokemon, you have to make sure you support it. And otherwise, how are you going to enable it to win games?
Well said.
So
I guess, that's pretty much it. I guess we'll move on. Just wanted to go over some, because even though these are technically drafting principles, you could say, they also are for team building too. So you still have a few days left of free agency. So if you wanted to use these by seeing one of the mons we're going to talk about next, you can use these principles to try to fill your teams out.
Yeah, so we split these mons into a couple different categories when we were making these lists. Like Loker just said, it was important for us to at least get this video out before free agency ends. So if someone wanted to make changes based on some of these, there's still time for you to do that with some of those free transactions. With that being said, our first category here, heavy hitters, is going to be really, really good cream of the crop things that we believe are very powerful and could definitely look to improve a lot of things, but currently, as they stand, are on no such team.
These guys should be rostered. I think we all three of us believe that these mons are good enough to be rostered and to build your team around in some aspect if you have the points available or are unhappy with what you currently have at your top end.
Yeah, I want to say Terra Chi-Yu especially, greatly debated among the single steering council, first off. Yeah, I will say that. And greatly debated for a reason. The mon, obviously, just hits like a motherfucking truck with its ability. Obviously, it's like superb special attack stat. Its stabs are absolutely out of this world amazing. It has easy access to boost its speed, I think, with Flame Charge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it gets Flame Charge.
It gets Flame Charge. Yeah. And agility too, I think, but maybe not.
There you go. I know it does get plot, so obviously you can fill, a sweeper role, but its most common use is a breaker. But with Terra, it can fill the sweeper role definitely a lot easier. Obviously being able to Terra and get like a cheat turn to get set up or do whatever you got to do. It gets the mon's just exceptional with Terra, and it definitely should be on a roster. Honestly, if you're looking at your roster and you don't exactly like your Terra captain and it's a special attacker, you feel like you maybe want to make a change, I would definitely urge you to definitely pick up Chiyu. And then someone else want to talk about.
I know I hate the
Yeah,
mon,
Terra and
but
Emrys
with,
on
with
defense
Terra,
side.
it's actually really, really good. So that's a free agent now as of a day or two ago. So something to consider there. Moving on to our next category, we have some mons that are still on the more expensive side of things, but maybe aren't quite as powerful. Some of these will probably go undrafted every season, but it's definitely still worth considering if you would like to add some things to your team.
I think Kirim is drafted in most seasons, and generally performs pretty well on the teams it's on. It is kind of I feel like it's often dropped throughout the season, but I feel like it's kind of scapegoated, including myself. There was one season I was running it, and my whole team didn't really function, and Kirim just ended up getting the boot because it was the biggest point sink that I was sitting on my team. But I think on a good team, Kirim is a great mon. Palafin is a mon that's drafted a decent amount, but I feel like it's often isn't super performant. But I'm a believer that it's a pretty good mon. Again, these are mons where if your team structure is good, they can be great pieces in addition, except for Urshifu Rapid Strike, which can be, with Terra, can be a win con in itself. I'm not a huge Latios guy, but I understand that it is a good mon and worth the investment if your team needs the things it provides. It has decent util, it's a ground immune, it's got Dracos to spam, so.
This Latios mon is criminally underrated in this throughout its history. I think it should definitely be picked up, and it'll prove its worth. I can say that. And one more thing to add with Kirim, since I am a big Kirim fan, definitely helps. Obviously, if you can, or if you have like a draft with really good hazard clear already, so something if you have like a Great Tusk, an Iron Treads, or a strong defogger that can consistently get that off, so that Kirim doesn't have to run boots.
Yeah, Kirim does not want to run boots if it doesn't have to, but often it's forced to run them, and that weakens the ability for the mon to do the things it wants to do, which is often either sweep or break.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a lot about some of the more expensive, some of the more flashy things on the board, things that hurt, things that sweep the game. But honestly, in draft, a lot of the value on your team is going to be in some of the more subtle things, and that's kind of what our next category is all about. When you're drafting mid to low tier mons, you want to get a lot of bang for your buck. You want to get a lot of mons that are capable of really high roll compression or do a very specific thing very well. So when we're talking about things like these low tier poisons types, they do a very specific thing very well. They're going to be very good value for your buck. But a lot of the other mons on this category is just going to be generally, not super flashy mons, but they do add a lot. One mon I want to shout out specifically is Conkelder. He's the single best knockoff switch in the game. A lot of teams struggle with dark types as it is, and on top of that, he's some of the best prio in the game. And actually, we're going to be seeing him later in a bit. So
yeah, I think it may be worth just to go through quickly and talk about a few of the util things that each of these mons do. There's not that many of them, but just so in case anyone doesn't know exactly what they do or the role they fulfill, we could let them know. So I think the easiest ones we could talk about first are the poison guys. So all the poison guys bring a few different unique things, but generally their number one thing they do is absorb toxic spikes and provide some other utility that's roll compressed. So for example, Muck is a great knockoff guy and also a good knockoff absorber. It's a decent special wall, and it obviously does the poison type gambit of being able to absorb the spikes. Wheezing is more defensively oriented, more physically bulky, and also can be levitate week to week, which is nice, but doesn't get the access to knockoff and is much more passive generally. Quilly H, I found out this thing does not get flip turn, which does make it a little more passive. But it is only weak to ground and also eats the spikes and has intimidate and some other good aspects to it as well. And then Wheezing G is just wheezing with defog and the fairy typing attached. for the poison guys. And then I don't know, Cards, if you want to talk about the Lake trio or duo, I guess, that are on here.
Yeah,
maybe.
Surprisingly, Mesprit picked up in both, I believe.
As it should be,
as
for
it
the
should
record.
be. It's a very good mon. And
Agree.
I'm honestly not too surprised about Azelfs. Usually it's not drafted every time, but a lot of teams will find nice roles. But both of these mons, Uxie and Azelf, do a whole lot for your team. They are very versatile. They are some of the best stealth rockers in the game. Uxie specifically is like a giant Swiss army knife defensively. He can plug so many holes and be good into so many different threats week to week, very consistently. And Azelf is slightly less versatile, albeit on some teams they really, really appreciate the higher offensive output. So, if you're a more aggressive team, maybe you want a little bit more of a better matchup into ground types because they both have levitate. These guys are definitely very, very...
They're W roll compression, both of them.
They're some of the best roll compression in the game.
Yeah, they just do a little bit of everything. Swiss Army knife is a great way to say it. I bet we should probably let the boss himself talk about the regen mon on this list.
Hold on. Before we get to that, before we get to Slow King, I gotta talk about the keys, bro. Because I'm a fan. I'm a fan, bro. We a little prankster guy. Obviously, its main thing that it's known for is probably prankster T-Wave. Stops and scares sweepers in their tracks. Absolutely like amazing to have that threat on your side. That there are like people will definitely think about that in the builder. Literally every time they see it loaded up against them.
Yeah, the number one thing when I see that mon loaded up, the number one thing I'm worried about is T-Wave. Like,
Yep.
how am I going to get around my sweeper getting T-Wave by Klefki at some point during this battle? Also get spikes. OP.
Yeah, get spikes. So if you scare out a sweeper or any other mon, and you feel yourself, you get spikes, layer spikes up. It obviously screens access as well. It can do silly things like even like switcheroo a toxic orb.
Magnet rise.
Magnet rise so to get avoid ground types. It's also amazing typing.
It's probably the best typing in the game. I do. There is one downside. It's not very bulky on either side, so often it can get, because it likes to not run boots all the time. It can get whittled down by hazards if it comes in multiple times and doesn't have any recovery in its own right. So it is a steel type, so hazards are not hitting it as hard. But I do often notice that Klefki only gets a few chances usually. It gets its screens up, it threatens a few spikes or T-waves, and then it goes down. But it does do an incredible job. It's 9 points, I think, on our board, which I think is fairly priced. I think it should be rostered for sure. It definitely does enough.
And then to wrap up, I guess this W utility section, for the most part, we obviously have Slow King. I mean, Regenerator, top 3 abilities in the game, in my opinion. Just absolutely beastly tank on the special defensive side, or even defensive side. If you EV for it and slap a little Culver Berry, let it eat a knockoff or two, get a T-Wave off. It has an amazing deep move pool that it could pretty much hit almost anything super effectively that you would want it to. Threatening future sites with a strong fighting type, so that they can't ever defend against it. It is also a really common thing to do with Slow King. And then even like setting up for like you can have a little combo with like a Slush Rush user, or even someone like Baxcalibur with Ice Body. There's plenty of stuff.
There's a lot of little synergies and stuff you can do. And these early gen mons just get so many moves. I mean, they just have so much. A lot of these early gen mons have especially psychic types seem to have so much coverage. And then the Rotoms are just levitate. Rotom base Rotom got nerfed, but is still very good. I mean, I think it deservingly got nerfed and it's still pretty well priced.
Very good.
Rotom Watch. I'm surprised Rotom Watch isn't on a team in Deep End, to be honest. That mon is almost always rostered by someone.
Yeah, he goes early. He goes early and often.
So I would be surprised if we went into the season without Rotom Watch having a team, and Little Rotom should probably be on a team too.
All right. Well, our next 2 categories are SV exclusives. We're not going to be seeing these in NatDex for a couple of reasons, but they mainly just come back to the fact that some aspects of the SV board are very limited. The most obvious one of this is hazard removal, having that option to hazard control and get rid of those hazards from your sides. Oftentimes, when you're in an SV draft, good options for spinning or defogging go very, very fast. In NatDex specifically, you're going to have defog everywhere, so we decided not to have this category here. But in Splash Zone specifically, there are very, very good, not very good, but
surprisingly
good, surprisingly good options available.
I mean, we already talked about Conk. Conk is a good defogger because it generates so much pressure on its own that a lot of times it does get free turns to get the defog off.
Yeah, don't draft Conkelder specifically to defog, but if you do have Conkelder on your team, he is a surprisingly good defogger. That's
absolutely. You shouldn't go into your draft and be like, my defogger is Conkelder, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But if you have Conkelder on your team and maybe you don't have a great secondary option, he can kind of split the burden between another like so-so defogger. And it's not like he's stacking, like many spinners are stacking typings, whether it's ground or steel or whatever. This guy doesn't, so he's usually like a unique typing as well, so he doesn't mess with your type chart too much. And also, like you said earlier, he's so good into the dark types and stuff that run the metagame. Excadrill was buffed again this season, and it is rostered in deep end, but it's not rostered here. The Mon is just getting to the point where like it's the same price as I think Donphan is 8. It's like the same price as Donphan, and it does a lot of things better than Donphan. Donphan does some things better as well, which he's also not rostered in Splash Zone. And you have like good old Fortress, who some people argue doesn't do enough, but I think Fortress is pretty good as a spinner, especially if he's your secondary spinner, because you don't want to have to feel like you have to load him in every week. But if you need another spinner, or you have a defogger but you want a spinning option or something like that, he definitely is an option to look up. I'll let you talk. I know, Cards, you like Quack a lot. I can let you talk about Quack.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of in the same boat as Conkelder, but I do think rapid spin sets are certainly much more viable, especially if you're not choosing to Terra your Quaquaval, which at this point, if he's not picked up, assumingly he's not going to be your Terra captain. So, like, you can get away with spin on a lot of sets. You don't really need all 4 of your move slots on this Mon a lot of the time. So having that ability to have a Mon you can bring consistently and still have that spin access can be very nice if you're in a pinch for rapid spin.
Yep. And we talked about Weezing G, but it's just Weezing with defog and a better.
That guy's probably the if you're like in deep end and you need, oh man, I need hazard removal, he's probably the best dedicated hazard removal guy in that division.
Yeah, what would you guys say would be your number one if you just could pick? Like, I would say Weezing G on deep end, and probably Excadrill on the. If I just needed someone to click rapid spin consistently, I think that those are the 2 I would take.
I'd agree with that.
I'd take Weezing G and I'd take Donphan. I think people
that's like the other argument you can make, the Donphan over the Excadrill, but I think both are fair.
And then, again, Conk is a great Mon, but it just isn't primarily your spinner. Usually.
I love Conk, and he should be rostered. Our last category for our SV, besides the little segment we're about to get into at the end, is just, hey, a lot of teams, a fundamental part of team building in Pokemon is that you should probably have a good ground type. It makes your life so much more easier if you have a ground type that you can bring or feel comfortable bringing almost every week. Shout out Deep End. Actually, all of like the high tier to mid tier.
Yeah, this was surprising to me. It's just Swampert.
Are pretty much all taken. The Ursalunas are up, but I didn't want to put them in that this category because they don't act like traditional ground types and don't really fulfill the same role that all the other guys on this will do for
they're definitely unique.
Yeah, they're very unique.
I wouldn't include them in this tier either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Swampert being the only one in deep end means that if you need a ground type, you got to run to the store because there's only one left. They're about to be sold out. On Splash though, I was surprised. There is at least one team between both divisions that doesn't have any ground type. But a lot of the Splash, I think everyone but one Splash Zone team has a ground type, and yet there are still a lot up. So if you're dissatisfied with the one you have, Swampert is a great defensive ground type. Crocodile could be a great mixed between offense and defense, depending if you want to run Intimidator, Moxie. We already talked about Skirl and Donphan, and Clodsire is a little passive, but if your team needs a defensive wall or an unaware guy, if that's what your vibe is, then he's there for you. Not as strong as the other ones though.
This category speaks for itself. We don't have to spend too long on here because, especially, I want to go to the segment that you prepared next, kind of taking a look at
for sure.
the changes that we've made to the SV board this season and how that actually ended up.
Dav, do you want to say anything before we move on?
This time over?
No. I think you guys covered everything for the ground types.
Yeah, why
Sure.
don't you take it away then, since you've made?
Yeah, so I prepared this little thing. I just think it's cool to look because all three of us were on the Tiering Council with some other folks, and we all had spirited discussions about what was good and what was bad, and whether or not nerfs or buffs were going to be too much, and what would and wouldn't be viable. So I thought it'd be interesting to look back at kind of the standouts on 4 different categories of what was buffed, and ended up being drafted, what didn't, and what was nerfed and left for dead, and what was nerfed and continued to be drafted. Alola. So we'll start with what was buffed and forgotten. There was no weather in SV this season. None.
Crazy.
Which is crazy because we buffed all 3 weather archetypes. Mostly we buffed rain and sun, but
saved, dude. The game is saved.
And I did think that we'd see at least one weather team between the two divisions, but maybe Uncle Crack God's season last season scared some people off. I don't know what happened, but no, there's no weather this season. So next we have, and these are all undrafted in both divisions in this category. Next we have Azelf. We already talked about Azelf a lot, but we did give it the biggest buff it's ever received. It's down to 9 points. We considered it the worst of the 3 of the Lake Trio because it's a little more niche than the other 2, a little less Swiss Army knife, as we said before. But no, it wasn't. Yeah, it's still very good and it's cheap. So if you need a levitate guy, if you're running more of an offense leading to hyper offense type style of team, it's a great stealth rocker. I'm surprised it didn't get picked. Moving on to one I'm not as surprised, Necrozma. I mean, we buffed this thing like 4 times and it's never really seen play. I do think it's well priced at 13 if you want to make it a Terra Captain, but in a world with Raging Bolt and Tornadus and Ogerpon Wellspring and Keldeo and all these like crazy Terra Captains, it's hard to like want to put your main Terra Captain end up being like a 13 pointer. Like I feel like that's a hard sell.
I do want to jump in and say it did actually, like, I think it was our season of mid-tier Terra. I forget which one it was. Like 6 or 7. No, I didn't mean that, but whatever.
Say that again.
Yeah, whatever. There was a big stink, and it even got first picked. I believe Jamark first picked it and sniped
First
pick
but first round it, right? I think it was first round.
Yeah, sorry, first round.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, first pick.
Yeah, I remember being pretty shocked that happened, and I think it was good. It wasn't great,
okay.
but it was better than I thought it was going to be. But in a world of high tier Terra, at 15, it's never going to.
It's just not going to.
Like 15 is what like Quackleval is.
If it's at
like,
15, it's eating the majority of your Terra Captain budget. And
it's a Terra Hog. It needs
if it comes, it probably needs a Terra. So
yeah. Next we have 3 that I'm really not really 4. Actually, most of these I'm not really surprised at. But Hax. I didn't put the Haxorus picture on. Sorry, guys. Iron Jugulus, Haxorus, Rhyperior, and Reuniclus were all buffed because they're what I consider like holdovers from our old mid-tier Terra system that just couldn't compete with like the high tier stuff. They all got buffed. None of them got drafted, and I'm not really surprised. Maybe Rhyperior, I'm a little surprised, but again, he's a Terra Hog in a world where you can Terra your Raging Bolt. Like, so what? Like, are you really trying to make that our main Terra Captain?
Yeah, what are you doing if you're doing all that?
Which I believe was a sentiment. I want to say I want to say Dean was the main proponent of this sentiment when we were talking on the Tiering Council, that like these mid-tier guys are just not competitive enough to be drafted when they're 10 points to Terra, and now they're 7 and 8, and they're still not.
Rhydon is Rhyperior is like paradoxical because if he's coming, like you have to Terra him, so and he's also like not too high points, so you don't want to bring him every week. But then it's like, are you not bringing your ground type every week? That doesn't.
Or you double ground type, and then in a world
like,
where you.
Why is Rhyperior our Terra Captain? Like, why is he even here?
His typing is. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think he's good with Terra in theory, but in practicality, in terms of bring him and rostering him, he just kind of sits like a fat chud and takes up a Terra slot and kind of doesn't do enough. I mean, Davin, you've run them on before to like middling results, right? You weren't super happy with him.
My bad, bro. Fuck. Like
I remember mocking you and you just like you were like, it's good, it's okay. It's just it didn't. I feel like it never really like shined for you when you.
It was also my main ground type. So tearing out of your ground type, wasn't the greatest of all
Yeah.
things. So, yeah. But I mean, if you draft this Mon, like there was no, you probably just got to put him on some Shaq Diesel type shit, bro. You know what I mean?
Actually,
Like,
so real.
So real, so true.
Uh,
Next, you have two guys who were our biggest buff. Like Meloetta went down 5 points to Terra, and I would have bet money that it would not have been drafted. And here we are.
Dude, somebody will make this Mon work and succeed one day.
you do it, bro.
That somebody will not be me.
It could,
all right?
yeah. It won't be me
It will
either.
be
I think
somebody.
Meloetta. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have the sauce like that. It's just
They
it's
need
just
to-
not
they
that.
need to
No,
buff
the
relic
problem is
songs so
it's
that when it
all
transforms-
sauce, bro. That's all it has is sauce. There's no main dish with Meloetta.
Yeah, maybe that is the truth. Maybe you're spitting.
You
maybe
can
you're
only
spitting.
do like cute shit. And
Yeah.
that's
Listen,
it.
if they buffed relic songs so that it stays in its fighting form, that thing would be like a 13 Terra, bro. Sure. But like otherwise, the way it is now, I mean, you know,
You have to be a psychic
I
type.
guess. What? No. When it transforms into normal fighting.
No, I'm saying right now.
Oh,
we
right now?
have to
Yeah,
transform
yeah,
and be yeah.
Yeah.
Next we have Tornadus. Again, I didn't think it'd be drafted. I don't know if you guys thought it would be at 5.
Nope.
I don't know. I see it on a lot of boards for like 3 or I think the lowest I saw was 4 with no terror attacks. Like I don't know. Mom was never going to be drafted. Next Mon I am a little surprised didn't get put on either because 3 for Staraptor seemed like because in my opinion your low guys should do one thing really well. Like generally you draft a low guy to do at least one thing super well, and Staraptor does one thing very, very well. It blows your head off with its
Kaboom.
flying stab. And then
kamikaze.
as I think Cards told me earlier, and then it dies.
Yeah.
It just kills
It,
itself. and
it literally
blows up.
cannot help but die within 2 turns of being on the field.
But it's 3 points, right? And for 5, I didn't know one really wants to pay 5 or even 7 to tear it. But for 3, I thought someone
mean,
would go for it. But
It'll break.
It
Some
didn't work out.
weeks it'll break and it'll go crazy. So, I mean, mine's not
And
bad.
then-
It's just kind of niche.
last but not least, we have.
Dude, hold on, bro. Let me take this one. Guys, stand back, guys. Okay, this one is a Goliath grouper, bro. All right, the insane powerhouse. Okay, listen, I'm exaggerating a lot, but truthfully, honestly, I've read at least like 3 pages of a book. About
This mon
thing.
is good.
It's good, but man, it like there was a lot of
Never know.
debate about
This
it.
mon is good. Whatever, bro.
The
I'm-
spirited,
after all this-
debate
Yeah.
of the Searing Council. Of
I don't
after
want
all
to
this-
hear about iron leaves in my life ever again.
Oh god. After all this debate, though, it still went undrafted at the 3-4 mark. People were arguing that it should have been higher. So maybe if you want something really cheap that some people think is underpointed,
This
maybe
mon
you
is
could look for a
good at
super
4.
in Iron
All my
Leaves.
lo-
This
all my
mon
life.
is this. Yeah, I just want to be clear. As much as we're memeing around,
This
the mon is good
good
at 4.
at 4.
If you
And,
want it
Yeah,
and
it
you
is.
can
If
utilize
you
it with
need
Terra,
a
it's
cheap-
bad without Terra. Don't draft it without Terra. But
if you need a cheap oh, yeah,
Get summoned!
we're recording and talking about
Yeah.
iron. No way.
yeah, we're
No
recording
way
and
he
then the man
appeared.
himself has joined up.
Dude, oh my god, there's no
Surprise.
way.
Just to be clear, it's 2:41 a.m. and Sealed has joined as he's been summoned to the Iron
I
League.
just got home.
That's
What's going on?
hilarious, bro. We're recording right now. You want to hop
I
in, bro?
figured y'all, yeah, I figured y'all were recording. Yeah, I'm down.
All right, I'll hop in, bro. All right, yeah. Just join the stream. You'll figure
Currently
it
talking about Iron Leaves. No, we're done
out.
talking
No,
about.
we're
Iron
done.
Leaves.
We're done. Yeah, we're done.
But we did say draft it or pick it up at 4. It's a good mon if your team wants to utilize a cheap Terra Captain. Moving on to our next category, we have what I said was the buffed and back. These are the guys who haven't been drafted in the last few seasons or haven't had success in the last few seasons, except for the one guy, but haven't had success in the last few seasons that have been buffed and now are either drafted in at least one league and in one case, both leagues. So I knew this was going to happen. I think Mukalolo was pretty expensive at 9. At 6, it's very, very good, and it's been drafted in both leagues. I'm not surprised about that at all. I think the boss himself has him, and I don't remember who has him in
Yoink.
deep end. But Mon is back in business. To be fair, I think both Mucks should be drafted. But next, we have 2 Mons that are rostered in Splash Zone. So Primarina got a huge Terra buff, and it is a Terra Captain on, I believe, I think it's Weston's team. So we'll see if the Mon ends up shining when without a Terra tax. That could be an interesting prospect, but I did think it would be drafted at 11, and it is. And I just picked up Volcarona at 9, which I think 9 with no Terra is pretty aggressively. I mean, it's the same price as Excadrill, right? So it definitely is good for 9 points to fit on your team. Not
I absolutely love that mon. I'm glad it got picked up.
Yeah, it's not drafted in deep end. So if any deep enders want to go look at it, it's there. I don't know why I said deep endo, but 3 mons that are
deep
rostered in
endo.
deep end. I think Sealed actually just picked
Yeah,
up
the
Chiyu, I'm
other
pretty
day,
sure.
just
I
picked
sure
up
the other
did.
day.
Yeah.
the Yizzler.
At 16, which was a mon that did have a lot of debate within the tiering council of what it should be costed at. Some people thought 15, 16. I think some people thought 15, 17. Some people thought 16, 17. I think even some people thought 16, 18, but I think everyone was down to move it down from 19 to 18 at the very least. We ended up landing on 16, so I think it was pretty aggressively costed this season, and I'm not surprised it's rostered. Yeah. I mean, I don't
should
think
be buffed in both leagues. Shout out
Yeah.
to our earlier segment.
Yeah, it should be rostered in both leagues for sure. Excadrill we talked about. I mean, no one's running Sand this season, nor do I really think it would be rostered with Terra. But I think at 9 without Terra, it's definitely a decent enough spinner to be on a team that needs a spinner.
For sure.
And then Empoleon, I mean, this mon I've drafted. I've seen other people drafted. I swear to God, this mon just does not get as much value as you think on paper it would. Like every time in practice, it's got knock, it's got roost, it's got rocks. It's got flip, it's got
flip,
slow
right?
pivot. Yeah. But every
yawn.
time I see it in practice, it doesn't
You're sick, man.
do enough, in my opinion. So it got buffed, and it's rostered in one of the 2 leagues. Next we have the nerfed and discarded tiers. These are guys who got nerfed and are not drafted in either league. I think only one of them, and I already alluded to it, Muck is the only one I think should be drafted. Maybe Boulder, you could argue too, at 16.
I will.
I mean,
Bro,
this
these other guys-
I'll be
man.
honest about Boulder. This was always going to happen. It was always going to do well last season. It was hella underpointed. It was
14
always
was
going to eat
crazy.
a fat nerf because we hella underpointed it the first time, and now it's just a whiplash reaction because, I mean, it's like 2 points more expensive. It's a decent nerf, but now it's just like priced appropriately, and I don't know how many.
It's kind of like the Blaziken thing, where Blaziken went from 13
Yeah.
to 16. It's not like
yeah.
bad. It's just where it should have been last season.
It's-
Fellas, I gotta say, a very fast stab rock, 100% accurate
It's good.
blaster is
It's good.
really good. That
It's
guy
one of-
should
it's-
be
You're
drafted.
so
It's
fast. you
one of
remove
only
your
2,
dog
right?
shit
The only other one
typing.
is Ivy Kudge, is the only other like
Yeah.
100%
Yeah,
accurate
it is.
real
Uh-huh.
rock move. So
No, this mon is very
from
good.
Corner Pond.
So if you are looking for a very good primary Terra
Like
Captain,
fast threat,
if you need
primary Terra
a
Captain.
very fast thread, this is the guy for you.
yeah. If you're like we said earlier, I think we were talking about Urshifu or one of the or Chiyu too. If you're unhappy with your Terra Captain right now and you want to look for another one, this guy, if he's undrafted in both leagues, he's your guy, man. I mean, I wouldn't recommend him drafting. I mean, even at 11, he's okay without Terra, but really, he's like where he shines is when you put the Terra button on him, and he's able to really like open up his possibilities when he gets stabbed on other things that aren't his rock and fake psychic IMO. Moving on, we have Gothitail. I mean, we even said in the patch notes we nerfed this guy because it's a terrible strategy that makes people upset, and if you draft it, you should be punished with points, basically. So, glad Gothitail did not get drafted. I think Doug Trio is also basically in this category of trapping. He's also nerfed and was undrafted, but I didn't include him on this list. Next, we have I guess Sableye I'll talk about too. Sableye is another like mon that people hate and also was underpointed on our board for sure. Undrafted, and I think it could be drafted at 5 maybe, but I don't know. And mon's lame.
I would not draft it at 5, to be honest. Like, there's no way. I'd draft it like 4 max.
Yeah, and the other 2 I wanted to bring up were Bronze. Like Muck, we talked about. Muck should be drafted at 5. It is that whiplash where like you see a mon get nerfed by 2 points and you think, oh, but most boards like Muck is maybe slightly overpoint on our board, but Muck is always drafted every season as like the premier cheap ass like poison
He's
type.
just a very good grounded poison type.
Yeah, util guy, can't get knocked, can knock others, spread poison. He's a great mon at 3. I thought it would get drafted at 5. It hasn't. I still think it should be. But the other 2 I want to talk about are Whimsicott and Bronzong, because both these guys got pretty decent nerfs. I mean, for low point guys, neither one are drafted. Do you guys think they should have been nerfed to this point? Like 3 points on Whimsicott, 2 on Bronzong?
Whimsicott's
I would
a little
like
high,
to.
but it's all right.
I was going to say, I would like to talk about these two because I'm actually a big fan of both of them. I think Whimsicott is great on a team where you have a slow pivot, So like we're like Alomomola, Slow King, yada yada, etc. I think it's great on, especially with those type of mons, because obviously if you're running a slow pivot, you're prone to maybe getting set up on. Having like a prankster encore in the back pocket on a Whimsicott, really useful, obviously, to force that or whatever's setting up on you out, or even like if they're got like a utility move or rocks or whatever. I don't think it's like Card said, I think it was a bit heavy-handed on the nerf, to be honest with you. I think it's a great mon, but it's not 6/6 in my opinion. I personally wouldn't draft it. Bronzong at 5/5, I would draft Bronzong. I absolutely love and adore Bronzong. I think it's really solid. It'll take any hit for you. Maybe not 2 times, maybe not, but it'll it'll take the hit for you. And then I mean, you just got all around great utility. It's got rocks.
T-Wave.
Yeah.
T-Wave,
Yeah.
It actually doesn't get T-Wave,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I
Yeah.
lied.
Yeah.
All right,
When I lie.
Legends of the Bolt being Bronzong, but yeah. Other than that, honestly, I know I didn't sell it well, but I promise you, just look at the guy's stats. So he'll serve you well.
Yeah, I think Bronzong. I mean, personally, I think Bronzong at 5 is fair. I think Whimsicott at 6 looks wrong to me. Like looking back
Yeah.
and seeing it wasn't. I think maybe 5 is more reasonable for Whimsicott, but hey, I'm not a Whimsicott guy, so I didn't know if anyone else thought differently. Maybe it deserved to be 6. I'm not sure I don't remember what the conversation was around Whimsicott and why it got moved 30 points, but it was. Someone said it was OP, I guess. And finally, we'll move on to our last category. So these are mons that were nerfed and withstood, so are able to continue to be on teams. Especially these top 5
Dude.
guys are rostered in both leagues.
I don't want to.
Everyone's biggest surprise somehow, Alomomola is still
Like,
rostered in both leagues.
all
and picked for-
unanimously voted to nerf fucking Alomomola. There was no second that any of us fucking didn't think this thing wasn't gonna get picked up. It's
We
gonna
can
get
make
picked
this
up in
guy
the third
14,
round.
15
We
points.
can make this guy
He's getting
15
picked up
points,
and
every
still get
fucking
picked
draft.
up.
So,
I'll
that's
say it.
actually what I was gonna ask: is what do you guys think like? Do you guys think you could push to 15 and it would still be drafted
Yeah.
at 15?
Dude,
Some
I would
sick-
draft
some
this.
sick
I'd
man
draft this thing at
drafted it.
16. I'd
Some-
draft this thing at
There's
16.
always a
Because there are
sicko
some
in
sick
every
people
draft.
like this.
Yeah,
Like-
who will draft
Fuck
even
no.
if it's not even good at 16. There is at least one person who would
For
draft
not
it there.
1 second did I think Pheasantipity and Mandibuzz were not going to be drafted.
Yeah,
in
Cyclozar,
both.
Fez,
Mandibuzz
and
is just
Alomomola.
awesome.
Yeah.
I am.
I
The
thi-
one
I
thing
think
I
what it kinda-
am
Yeah, go ahead.
surprised about on this list is a Spothra.
Yeah,
He's drafted in both leagues. That one is the only one on this list that is surprising to me. But
Hey,
Shout
my
out.
bad. If it helps any, he was dropped.
Oh wait, did you drop him, Sealed?
I did drop a spot.
Okay, so
Oh.
Spotter's only. I don't think it was picked
Only
up, so I
in-
think it's only
only in
actually
Splash
rostered
then.
just in Splash now.
okay.
But the point still stands is that I really thought his Spother at 10 wouldn't be alluring to any. Like I thought it would kind of go the way of Iron Boulder
Yo,
and just
Applebug
people get
was
whiplash.
taking names with that guy, dude.
I'm gonna say shout out Applebug for getting that thing
Yeah.
single-handedly nerfed.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I mean,
guy,
Also-
nine was pretty aggressively priced.
I was gonna say also, I had Terra and Amorous initially. The reason I dropped Espathra is it is 1 point too many to Terra with Enamorous. If we didn't do
Oh,
this
yeah.
nerf, I probably would have ran. with
You
it
probably
and
would've
just
ran the
added as my
combination,
secondary Terra captain.
That's
Wow.
yeah,
Ace.
that's interesting. We did look at actually just to go on a little side story. We did actually look a lot at the top tier guys. Like, all right, who can Terra in our system with the 20-point guys, who can Terra with the 19-point Terras, and like
Mhm.
went down the list. I don't know if we talked about an Amorous plus like something like a spot there, but I do know we were looking at what number a spot there could be at that it couldn't pair with something too strong at the same time.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Alomomola, Cyclozar, Mandibuzz, and Pheasantipity, the one thing I want to say about them is they're such core defensive pieces of the metagame in such in a more limited format that no matter what they're gonna get drafted. It just depends on what you put around them when you do. But I would never have bet in any world that Cyclozar, Mandibuzz, Pheasantipity, and Alomomola were not going to get drafted after being nerfed. There's just no way. They're too core to the defensive profile of too many teams to not be drafted.
Hey man, dude. Hey fucking man.
Shout out Charles, getting the respect he deserves.
Is that
Cyclozar.
Cyclozar?
He's a beast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cyclozar is a beast mon. I mean, it's crazy. It's so fast. It's got spin. It's got flexible damage types. It's very
If you draft that thing, don't fall into the trap of playing it defensively. Just hit.
hit
like a
moves.
motherfucker.
Hit moves and hit spin. That's all you gotta do. And regen, because apparently that thing also needs regen for some reason. Next we have a mon that's rostered in Splashstone that I think we talked about earlier, but that probably should be rostered in both. Blaziken at 16 is kind of the Iron Boulder effect, where you get whiplash from it being 13. It's I wasn't on the tiering council last season. It's insane that it was at 13.
This thing is hella
That is
freaky.
crazy. And it was rostered and it was good
And
at
it did
13.
well, yeah.
I think Jeremy has it in Splash, and I think no one has it
Dean-
in
that was
Deep
this
End.
season. Okay, yeah.
This season. Yeah. Dean had it last season.
Yeah.
And I think Jeremy's running it with Darkrai, which was something that was like recommended or
Yeah,
something
the
that you heard
popular
about.
core.
A popular
Seen
core
that-
right
seen
now.
a lot, yeah.
But yeah, I think Blaziken's good at 16, should be rostered. And finally, we have Belly Bolt, which is rostered in one league after being nerfed by 2 points. I think Belly Bolt probably is a 6-point mon. It's better than Whimsicott, even though they're two completely different mons. Like Belly Bolt, in terms of what it brings, is better than what Whimsicott brings on most teams. And 6 is fair, and I think it should be probably rostered in both leagues. It does a lot of good stuff. It's a big fatty. So that's it for our SV part of this video. We're going to move on to NatDex, and I already can tell you right now, this next slide is not going to have the right heading on it. I did not change it. Please disregard. It's going to say SV again. But moving on, we have the second SV team building. No, I'm kidding. That's it's NatDex team building principles. I wrote these two, so I can go through it. On the left, we have, unlike SV, team building is much less tight, so you can often find good mons for each role you want on a team. Basically, what that means is the board's less punishing. And I just gave a few examples. Hazard Clear is more available. Mid-tier grounds, fairies, and steals have more options, such as Ferrothorn, Nidoqueen, and Togekiss being options in those categories, respectively. On the right, we have a little bit about Mega as compared to Terra. So your Mega is often your cornerstone of your draft, like Terra, but unlike Terra, it's far less of a flexible mechanic. Pokemon who can Mega Evolve will do those incredible stats, but at a steep cost. Mega Pokemon pay for their power by effectively not being able to hold an item, so they can't boost their damage or boost their speed, more importantly. Which means they're far less flexible than Terra Captains, in which you have a free item and the ability to change your type completely into whatever you have, and people don't know till they show up to the battle. One of the examples that this ends up manifesting in is a Megamon like Greninja with a speed tat of 142, which I'm using in PGP right now, is my fastest mon, but it's kind of a trap because it can never be faster than that speed unless you have a speed boost move. So it makes it easily revenged by something in the 100 to 130 speed tier that can Scarf. And that's where I allude to at the bottom. A way to remedy this is to have a mon like I have Iron Valiant on that team. That's a speed tier in between those two that can Scarf and revenge these threats that are pretty much unwallable. It's very likely you can't wall something like Mega Greninja if you don't have a type that is immune and it's already Proctus Protein. And a lot of mons are like that in this thing. So that's just some differences between SV and NatDex to go over. Is there anything you guys wanted to add on this before we move on?
Just like slightly related to that speed tier, the categories we went with are slightly different. And the main difference between SV and NatDex that we added is going to be that elite speed tier where you can find mons that are, either reaching that 120 plus benchmark or are mons that are, in that 115-ish kind of area that are very good with Scarf and can fill that niche that you just described. So,
all right, cool. Well, so move on to our first category, which is the same as the one we had in SV, which is the heavy hitters. These are mons, again, that we think that definitely should be rostered. It's crazy. If true, crazy, Cards did these slides. But if Mega Caesar is not rostered in either league, that
Mega
is very, very
Caesar,
crazy.
I am using this guy in PGP right now. I know it's not flashy. It's like the boring option out of all the high tier megas, because it's just Scizor, right? This thing is so good, dude. It's actually so consistently
it gets roost.
good.
It's
It has
fat.
roost in NatDex. It's so fat, especially physically. You can build it,
One
especially
weakness.
defensively. It has one weakness that you can play around or build around super easily, and it's like insane priority pressure. This mon is boring, but I promise you, it is so good.
Yeah. Next, does anyone want to talk about Floette or Mega Diancie or both?
Mega
Something like
Floette should absolutely
Walking
be rostered.
Nuclear bomb.
Yeah, this
really
thing,
bomb.
it does, everybody goes into a draft, you're trying to get, good type coverage, pretty commonly want to have like one, probably two good like fairy switch-ins. They don't matter to Mega Floette usually. Like most good fairy switch-ins are still dying in 2 to this thing. So like it's
I feel
just
like
a matter of
you need like a physical Revenger, like we were talking about with like a Scarfer, like a physical Revenger in that speed tier that can hit a super effective steal or poison move or something to like, because like especially it usually eats one and then it blows your head off. Like
yeah, it's like so hard to kill.
you have to hit it
too.
physically, and who is like pulling up with like a physical poison move from that like Mega Caesar is pulling up with a steal move, and Greninja is pulling up with like gunk shot and stuff. But most teams don't have the ability to consistently wall this guy, and nor can they easily revenge it in one hit, which means it's always trading up, which means it's W. It should be
also
right.
just got like recovery and status healing for fun too. Like
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
I mean, more things get access to
It also
status
gets
healing and
Trailblaze.
stuff,
For
Yeah.
some
What?
I
reason.
did not know that. I did not know it could boost its
You
speed.
can get
Really?
fast. Yeah. Unironically, yeah, that's a
and
gem
it could
set.
calm mine too.
fast.
Oh my god, bro!
What
This
a
is
beast.
another thing, too.
Yeah, yeah. And then Mega
Oh.
Diancie, I feel like is like a different vein, right? It's not nearly as much of just like the blow your head off fast guy, but brings a lot of util to the table.
Yeah, a lot more util, but I mean, it's still certainly a big threat if you build it offensively. Like, it's going to be very hard to switch into, like, the
Mhm.
combination of Fairy and Rock and Earth move all at the same time. And, of course, I mean, Magic Bounce is a fantastic ability. Although,
Yeah,
it's
Magic
slightly
Bounce you can bring
riskier on, like, a mon like Diancie.
something like this with a
Yeah,
4x
which
weakness
is-
and
yeah.
in draft where you can have coverage for it as well pretty easily if you know
Yeah,
what you're playing against.
But,
So
I mean, still.
but I
still
do think
very
Mega
good.
Diancie is like the worst Mega out of these three, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would
but-
agree.
And also maybe the hardest to use because I think Caesar and Floette are kind of plug and play a lot. Like Caesar could come and just
Yeah,
be
they
normal
are.
Caesar. If you know how to use Caesar, you know how to use Mega Caesar. And Floette just like you said, is walking nuclear bomb. It blows off anything's head in front of it. And then we just have Dragonite and Greninja, who are two higher
Yeah.
pointed mons that bring a lot to the table, who probably should be rostered in both leagues as well.
Dragonite specifically in NatDex gets a couple more options that make stuff like defensive sets a lot more viable, a lot better. Not that they're bad in SV, but he's a little more versatile than he is.
What does it get? Do you know what
it gets? Defog in Toxic? No, I think it does.
Yeah. I know it gets defog. I'm sure it gets toxic. Is this one of the mons that gets heal bell? I know in
It
NatDex
might.
a lot of the mons
I think it gets heal
get
bell
heal-
as well, but maybe.
I don't know if
we're
someone wants
just
to
lying.
fact check that quick, but
Yeah,
I think it gets heal bell, which I know
Patriots.
is a good move in NatDex that they took away from pretty much everything in
Yeah,
SV.
so it gets a lot of nice utility options that you don't get the chance to use in SV. So it's a little higher pointed as a result, but it's still very, very good. And obviously you can still do all the classic Dragon Dance stuff or like the Choice Band stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, we'll move on to our next category, where we have our big investments. So similar to SV, these are just mons that are kind of a tier below the top tier guys that need to be rostered. But if you are looking for a mon to put onto your team and you have a little bit of points to move around, these are all guys that bring something that's worth spending the points that they're worth. So I'll talk about Petron. I used it in PGP and then ended up dropping it because Goldengo was available. But Petron is just as good. Maybe slightly worse because it doesn't have as many moves to use, and everything gets toxic. But that's also to its advantage because it's one of the best high-pointed toxic eaters that is in a steel type, right? So if you have a premier steel type and you want a second toxic eater when everything is thrown around toxics in NatDex, Petron eats them. It also is a catch-all physical wall to everything. Even super effective hits often bounce off without a boost. It has recovery. It's a very good mod. It's got parting shot. It does all the things it does in SV, but it does it in NatDex pretty well too. So I'm surprised it's not rostered. We have another nuclear bomb here in Kartana with like 5 spadef, but and also pretty. The thing about Kartana is it's very, very strong. Obviously, it's one of like the strongest non-mega mon. It might be one of the strongest non-mega mons. I'm not gonna say it's the strongest, but in terms of its physical attack stat, its stabs are not great offensive clicks generally, and it doesn't get a ton of coverage, but it gets a little bit of coverage. It gets like knock, I think, and smart strat or secret sword, I think, which is the fighting move, and I think I saw Lexus run double edge on it because it didn't have enough coverage, I think, in 1 week. So, but it definitely hits well. Just don't consider this to be your defensive steal because can't
Every
really.
team needs some kind of guy to come in there and break holes, and that's what Kartana does. That's what Tapu Lele does. They're both really good.
And that's
at
what Ogrepon Hearthflame.
That's what
does.
Ogrepon Hearthflame does as well. It's also a little more viable than it is in SV. You usually have to pair it with specific things in SV that are very, very good at getting rid of hazards. But with defog being so readily available, it's not. It can fit on more teams. Is the point there? So
yeah. And then we have 3 util guys. I mean, Mew. Maybe people don't know if you're coming from SV, but Mew gets so many moves.
Soft boiled. It's soft boiled. You can heal.
Yeah, as well as a bunch of other things too. So Mew is definitely like. We were talking about Azelf and Uxie being Swiss Army knives. This guy is the king of Swiss Army knife in NatDex. And then we have both the Lotties, which we've talked about already. They get more options in NatDex. They get defog and stuff, but we won't go into too much more detail about them as we've talked about both the Lotties a little bit earlier in the video. So next we'll move on to our following category. Unless anyone else has anything to say, I think we're all good, right? So we'll move on. Next we have the W-Util guys. So a lot of these we've talked about before, so we don't need to rehash them. We talked about the Lake Spirits. We talked about the Keys. Jirachi is surprisingly Jirachi and
got dropped recently. And it's a very
it was?
Yeah,
so
that's
it was
another
rostered.
big Swiss Army
I'm
knife
sure that
guy.
I was gonna say sure that Mon will end up being
and it's a
rostered.
very solid defensive steel type. So I mean,
Yeah.
does everything you want, really.
Yeah, and Tinkaton, I think any SV players know what Tinkaton does. I mean, the thing about these Mons is that they don't get the biggest move pool, in the ones who didn't come from NatDex don't, like the new gen Mons, don't get as many moves. But Tinkaton does. It doesn't really need any more moves. It gets T-Wave, it gets Stealth Rock, it gets big damage moves. It's pretty good where it is, and it's a good defensive. It's the best typing in the game, right? We could talk about like Screamtail. We've probably. People know what it does, right? It's another like screens guy, Swiss Army knife user. The interesting mons that I guess we could talk about are Excelgor and Zatu, and surprisingly Ferrothorn isn't rostered in Cove, which is crazy.
Yeah, that one, people might know that if you're not keeping up with free agency, but it was drafted initially. That guy is also on the market in Pirates Cove, so I mean, and it's only like 10 or.
Get your checkbook out. Go get it.
Yeah, get your checkbook out.
Why don't you talk about Excelgor for a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, this guy is relatively cheap. He is 200 speed or something like that. He's very fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, he has a lot of very good utility options. One of the best like hyper offensive leads in the game. He gets
slap a scarf, press spikes.
He gets hazards. He gets final gambit. He kills himself. But he's really good at that. So I mean,
yeah, you like when we were talking about Azelf being a good for these offensive teams, like this guy in NatDex
this is like the most
really
extreme
good.
example of that.
Yeah, he does his thing, he gets his stuff down, and then he dies. But
other guys, Blissey is Blissey, but it gets teleport in NatDex, so maybe you're not the most passive thing in the world.
I mean, that is like W though. Like,
and Zatu is. I wanted to include some cheap guys on here. That's why I threw like Excelgor and Zatu on here. Zatu's only 2 points, but it's very decently defensive. You know, being immune to ground obviously gives you a lot of ins. And the big thing it has is Magic Bounce Teleport. So if you're looking for some cheap util there, you know, you want to like, it can wall a lot of like ground types, like something like a Great Tusk might have a lot of trouble into this, you know, and it also keeps hazards off if you really care about that. For 2 points,
I was gonna say, perfect example. You come in on Great Tusk, and then you bounce the rocks back. It can't get rocks down against you, and most of the time its coverage is not like rock coverage or ice coverage is not gonna kill you in 2.
Yeah, I thought it was just worth a shout for 2 points.
Yeah, no, I think that mon is shice for 2. If you have 2 points and want what it does, if you want ground immune plus teleport plus magic bounce. I mean, that's a lot of util packed into 2 points, right? So if you want to look at it, it's a possibility. Moving on, we have the elite speed category. So you said earlier we're going to have this category because of the principles we were talking about, and how it's so important to have something in between those speed tiers, right? So these guys all do different things, but the one thing they have in common is they're all elite speed. So we talked about Greninja, we talked about Azelf. Starmie is a new addition for people coming from SV. It's not in Gen 9. So some people may not be aware of what it does, but it spins. It's pretty strong. And
great
its typing
coverage.
it's a water type, right? So
Yeah.
not very
Water
bulky,
psychic.
but
Some of these guys, notably Crobat and Noivern, are not great scarfers, but they are very, very fast innate. So, I mean, they're
so
not
but
gonna
it's
be-
still getting the jump
yeah,
on these
it's
110s, right? There's a
getting
lot of
the jump
megas
on
who
a
are
lot of
110s.
things. Yeah, they're like very, very notable megas like the Lotties, stuff like that. Those are all
Floette is under these
Yeah,
speed tiers.
Floette
So.
is 102. So, being faster than those guys is going to be a very, very big. I mean, we've already talked about why speed is so important, especially with guys like Greninja or Starmie or Azelf. These are all going to be very viable scarfers that you can use and generally be faster than a lot of the other scarfers that you might come across on the other side. So, very good revenge tool here.
Yeah, and if you don't need the scarf, they still do something in their own right.
they're-
They don't
they're
have
very
to be
good.
scarfed in
So,
order to be.
I mean,
to be good.
Not much
But-
to explain.
Oh, this
with
is Island
guy.
Kobana.
Yeah. Oh,
W
did I
All
spell
right,
it wrong?
we can move on.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think that's our last slide.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
So
that's
why
our
don't
last
we
slide,
just real quickly, let's just go around and say one mon from this video that you think is the most undervalued, you think should be picked up right away. I'll start. I am a
Tell me which. I'll go back and go to the slide. Tell me which.
it just has to be Uxie. In SB specifically. Uxie in SB is just so good. I cannot talk about this mon. Actually, well, I just remembered Conkeldurr exit. It's still Uxie. Uxie just does legit everything you would want in SB. It's so good. That has to be my pick.
Yeah. Heard. I can go next. I didn't know you were gonna ask this.
Yeah.
I would probably
buddy.
say. The mon that should be picked up more than anything else is probably Chi-Yu with Terra. I was really, really sure that this mon was going to get drafted in both divisions at 16, just because it's always been so expensive to Terra. And KC has never had a season where Chi-Yu is like under 19 points to Terra ever or banned. So I really thought it was going to be picked up. I think it's definitely worth building your whole team around to enable it to succeed. And I mean, that's what Seal just switched his team to, right? So it should be picked up and rostered and utilized.
And
That'd be my pick.
the honest truth right off the dome. That's why KC is hard hitting, boots on the ground journalism. Let's hear
That's what I'm saying.
from Jonathan Sealed.
I mean, I would be remiss to not shout out my champion. I think Iron Boulder not
Age,
being
baby,
drafted.
Rise
Yep.
up.
He got a 2-point nerf to his Terra
He's
Captain
very
utilities.
good still.
Guys, I gotta be honest, even at a 2-point nerf to his Terra Captaining abilities, we increased the Terra Cap by 2 points this season. You can pair him with all the same guys. He is, even as an incredible Terra Captain himself, he's the ultimate bluff, because you cannot afford not to prep for Terra Boulder.
You'll just lose if you know.
Yeah, so if you don't, if you have to prep and have answers ready for it, and then if you just have a good secondary Terra Captain to go with him, and there are many at the 11 range and down, you can just set up your secondary Terra Captain to sweep so many games.
Where have I seen that before?
Yeah, crazy
Did someone
concept.
win KC
That
with
couldn't
Iron
be.
Boulder plus
That
10-point
could-
Terra
that-
Captain?
that couldn't
No.
be.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Probably not.
Last, but certainly not least, let's hear from Rex Alice. What will your pick be?
My pick for
One mon,
What mon do you
that we've
think
talked about
in
that you-
this list?
Yeah,
Do
that
you think should be rostered in either format?
should be
no matter
rostered
what?
the most?
if I had to pick something, I'd probably say Uxie. Out of everything,
Bang.
That's
To be
2 votes for Uxie.
yeah,
It's alright.
just
Cards
like
can change this to Kong.
Yeah, I'll
the
shout
hell-
out Conk, bro.
yeah, the indoor helmets just it just gets it done, man. Whatever you need, man.
That's true.
All
It
right.
just gets it
Oh.
done.
You heard it here first.
Oh, got a helmet.
If you draft Uxie, you will win KC 100 P.
Or Boulder.
Oh,
Boulder.
or Boulder.
Draft them both.
Yeah,
Draft
them
Boulder.
both.
We need. Let's see who's gonna be susceptible to our brain rot, and who's gonna put Chi-Yu, Terra. Oh, I guess you can't have Chi-Yu and Boulder on the same team. I was gonna say who's gonna pick up Chi-Yu, Boulder.
Ah, Dude,
Team
if
Boulder
KC was a
Oopsie
good
Conk
league.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Well, thank you all if you've managed to make it all the way through. I got to
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, thank you, Plug Guy. Oh, and if we end the video right now, it'll be right under an hour. Thank you very much. Bye.